Hello, thank you for taking your time to join our session. I will today show you a case study how in Alensa we managed to improve customer satisfaction just by changing their last mile carrier. Not everybody is familiar with our brand, so just to demonstrate our size of operations, we are a group of e-shops. We have about 220 employees. We operate in 32 countries across Europe mostly, and our turnover is about 110 million euros in last year. The quality of delivery highly correlates with customer satisfaction. Our segment, especially contact lenses, has extremely high retention rate or frequency of purchase. So unhappy customers hurt our future purchases. Delivery quality and speed is mostly beyond what we can control. Here I can demonstrate on how large base of customers is buying on retention. The blue line shows returning customers and the red line shows new customers. The customers are never forgiving, they never forget. The vast majority of the customers of our that write negative reviews complain about delivery, and all we can do is apologize and compensate, which is both costly and time consuming on customer service. We try to measure all kinds of data points related to customer satisfaction with delivery. You can see that delivery speed is one of the most important factors that the customers consider when they evaluate us. And that's not all that we measure. We try to also measure the Net Promoter Score, and we ask them in 4 key areas on how satisfied or dissatisfied they are with the service. And on top of that, we have hard data from our CRM, which means we know not only what customers declare in the survey or in the NPS, but we also know how they behave in the future purchases, because it's hard data in the system. Another issue we have is the season. We don't have typical season for e-commerce or retail players. Our seasons are basically two. One is sunglasses season and one is Halloween season for contact lenses. We don't have Christmas season, so we need to kind of manage the load of parcels towards the carriers during Christmas season, so that the customers are not dissatisfied with the delivery speeds. As you can see on the sunglasses season, this is also not an issue, because there we can manage very easily to move the parcels around. When you look at the graph, the season starts and ends very slowly. It starts in April and slowly builds up, and then ends sometime in November, let's say, is the bottom of this graph. So this is very easy to manage. What is more difficult to manage is the Halloween season, where in basically a few days we get all the sales from the entire year, which is absolutely crazy. But in context of the whole company, all the sales, this is just a minor inconvenience. So what is the solution to these issues? We ask ourselves, okay, if we cannot control what carriers are doing, maybe we can control how we manage the delivery on our side. We can measure it, and we also created KPIs that are easy to measure and easy to interpret across all the countries. So what techniques we use? We use some manual activity where we try to shift the demand away from the peaks, like Christmas season, for example. When people use contact lenses, they stock up, and they can stock up for 3 months or 6 months in advance. So we try to utilize Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the campaigns, or let's say weeks that are preceding to Christmas season, to make customers stock up on goods so that they don't order in the critical times. We try to evaluate carriers on a daily basis during the peak. For example, should there be any outages, should there be snow calamity, strikes, whatever. And then we try to manually shift the parcels from carrier to carrier based on the expected quality. Then what is the key to success here is the automated activity, where we try to pre-select certain carriers based on the KPIs to the customer and not giving them a choice which customer they want to use. Delivery speed information is displayed on the product pages so that the customer knows exactly how fast the parcel will arrive. And we try to update this information according to actual situation. And then in post-purchase messaging, we try to predict delays and try to message the customer before we know that there is actual delay in the tracking. So to create these KPIs, we took 3 questions that we have, and we try to form some kind of measurements, or some kind of indicators that we can track. First question is how carrier impacts the frequency of purchase. Maybe some carriers, if the customers are not happy, they will not order from us again. Or if they are satisfied, they will order from us again. So how carrier impacts the frequency of purchase, and the same goes for retention or churn rate if you want. And then we ask ourselves, okay, if we sum all of this, what is the long-term monetary value of a customer or of a customer that we lose? So we created 3 KPIs that are most important for us in this case study. We created something we call frequency score. This comes from a model, and it's a number basically. And we try to calculate how often the customers order based on the carrier they have. Then we measure retention rates. That's quite easy to measure. We just measure retention rate between first order, second order, between second order, third order, and so on. And we try to find the difference between the carriers. What carrier causes dropouts? And then we calculate a recency frequency, a monetary value for every customer in the base. And then obviously we are able to calculate if we lose the customer because he's not satisfied, then this has certain monetary value. We can evaluate that. Here are a couple of examples how we work with that, how we try to push the customer to choose the carrier that we want them to choose. The more easy way is the pre-selection. So basically we pre-select the checkbox for the customer, and then they have no other option unless they really actively want to change it. We found out that 92% of customers, they don't change this setting. So they are either happy with the selection of the carrier, or they just look at the options and in the end they stay with the pre-selected option. More complicated group is the group of markets where you have open selection. The open selection means that the customer has full range of choices that he can choose, but we try to push him with the small details towards the selection that we want him to make. For example, with the price, we also pre-check a box. We can show different delivery times, and we can, of course, put a recommended sign on top of it. This results still in 81% of customers choosing the selection that we want them to choose. So this is also quite an efficient way to do it. And on top of that, we can always use this as a control group for the pre-selections. So if we see that there is some big percentage of customers who are choosing a carrier for some whatever reason, a carrier that we don't expect them to choose, we can try to go and investigate why in a certain country this carrier is so popular, even though the numbers don't indicate that this carrier should be of a very good quality. So what are the results of all of this? We started with automated carrier evaluation and then pre-selections and open selections for the customers. And I can show you here some example on how these numbers look when we take all the sales from one market in 8 months, and we try to evaluate this based on past performance. As you can see, there are two key indicators in monetary and frequency, which is the behavior of the customer. This is how the customers actually behave, how they shop, how they choose the carrier, where they leave, or where they stay with us. In this list, there's the first one is Express, so this a little bit little outlier we should not be considering, but the rest are either pickup points or home address deliveries. And when we compare all the address deliveries, there is a massive difference between the quality of each of these carriers. And on the right side, you can see the declared quality, basically evaluation of the customer. And the graph starts at 95% satisfaction. So as you can see, the differences in perception of the carrier are not so big. So we cannot rely only on evaluation by the customer, because the customer in the end of the day is always satisfied if the parcel has been delivered in more or less satisfactory manner. They will always be happy. But the thing is that maybe there were some issues that they will not evaluate, and they eventually decide to change supplier. They decide to maybe look for another e-shop or another seller. And these are the hard data that we can see. The impact of these changes across the board on all our operations is that we managed to decrease negative or neutral evaluations by 8%, which may seem like a lot, but we have to realize that we are talking about just a tiny fractions of percentages, as I shown you in the previous slide. So even the improvement of 0.1 percentage points is really a huge improvement. So 8% is improvement of decrease of negative comments or negative evaluations. We estimated, based on our predictive modeling, where we try to compare behavior of customers that change the carrier, that 60,000 sales would not happen in next 2 years if we didn't do this. And the difference between the carriers ranges from plus 2.71% to minus 4.87%. So the impact of the carrier is not massive, but in large numbers, such as we have, and in highly sensitive market and highly dependent on retention, this is really, really big impact in our bottom line and in our financial results. And that's all. Thank you for your attention, and should there be any questions, do not hesitate to ask in the Q&A.